Is it really possible to live longer just by using your mind? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you not only why it's possible, but the 3 things that you need to do in order to be able to start using your mind to have a healthy, long, and prosperous life. Now, the first of the 3 keys I'm going to share with you has to do with understanding the word control and how people use it constructively or destructively. And if you're not using it constructively, it can very much shorten your life as opposed to extend it. But first, let us look at some of the professions that have the longest living lives. And you'll start to notice a theme. One of the longest living professions is, or people who live longer with this profession, are orchestra conductors. Now think about that. As an orchestra conductor, you are able to control your outer world when it comes to your job, which is where most people experience stress. You have everybody looking at you with your batons and you are controlling everything. You are in charge, you're setting the pace. No beat is out of beat unless you put it out of beat. So when it comes to being a conductor, there is very low stress because you sit with the knowledge and the ability to control your outer world. Then we go to generals in the army. If you're a general in the army, and I'm not talking during wartime, which is obviously a different level of stress, but if you are a general in peacetime, you have a much lower level of stress than you do if you are, for example, a platoon sergeant, where there's lots of different moving parts. Generals, when they walk through a camp, will have everybody obeying them, saluting them, and essentially following your orders. You are the conductor of your military orchestra. Now, the third profession, which historically has a lot of longevity attached to those that are in it, is the role of judges. Now, yes, if you think of a judge, in the courtroom, they are in charge of their own little fiefdom. Nothing goes on in that courtroom without them being able to authorize, or they have the ability to punish people at will. In fact, you could even say the wrong things in court and go to prison. Hey, that's an entire different podcast. Maybe I could write a book on it. Now, when it comes to those 3 professions, what you will notice is they are positioned in a way where they can, in that structure, far more easily control the outer world. By contrast, what most people experience, let's talk about an entrepreneur or an employee. As an entrepreneur, as I know, I've been unemployable for 33 years now, and I can tell you, as an entrepreneur, you aren't controlling anything in the outer world. The game is set up to throw so many curveballs at you from angles you don't even know exist. In fact, there's so many tennis balls coming over the net, it is exceptionally stressful. And people think that maybe that settles down. Well, I've done over 25 plus startups, and going from 0 to 1 million, as I've done with many of them, has its own sense of stress. But the businesses I've also took from 1 million to 10 million, for example, come with an entirely different level of stress. The tennis balls are bigger. So that never stops. And if you're trying to control the outer world from that perspective as an entrepreneur, you are going to bury yourself into an early grave. Now, on the other side, you have employees. As an employee, what do you get to control? You don't get to control your salary, your job description, the ability for your boss to run his or her business successfully enough to give you job security. You don't get to control almost anything. So therefore, again, a lot of people suffer a lot of stress at different levels of a job based upon things that they can't control. It's often said that 5% of people in the world own the world. Now, I'm not talking about financially. We all know that there's a lot of people out there that are so poor, all they have is money. Now, I'm not talking about owning the world financially or controlling the world financially. There's enough, I'm sure, psychopaths and narcissists out there that are busy trying to do that already. But hey, let's not open those floodgates, as well, I might end up with a large bill. But that aside, I'm talking about owning your world, not the world. That is a different form of control. And we see people who are able to master their inner world have much longer lives, have much healthier bodies, have much less incidence of dis-ease. And there's hardly an ailment right now that science for the last 20, 30 years isn't correlating to some emotional counterpart. I remember what Gandhi said, nobody can do anything to you emotionally without your permission. So being able to master the inner world is the starting point of using your mind to increase your longevity and quality of life, which leads us to point number 2. And that is the understanding that life is not a comfort-centric experience where you're trying to barricade yourself against the tennis balls, but instead life is a growth-centric experience which is calling you to higher levels of greatness. And as we know in the physical world, the body, for example, grows through challenge. You put it in the gym, you push it past its limits, it's pre-programmed as part of the rule set to return with a better version of itself. Now, when we look at ourselves emotionally, the inner world, if we understand that our workouts are our problems, our challenges, the things that we have to rise to, when we start to look at life through a growth-centric lens, not run away from our call to greatness through a comfort-centric frame, then we start to have far more control over our reaction to the tennis balls coming over the net. We now want to play the game and test ourselves rather than duck for cover. So when we realize life is growth-centric, we start to use our mind for our advantage, to strengthen us, to build resilience, to build resolve, to build determination, to build references that we can build on for becoming better versions of ourselves. If you don't understand life is growth-centric, you're essentially going to be moaning at the weights in the gym for putting pressure on your muscles. Well, that's not why people pay gym memberships. We pay a gym membership because we want to challenge ourselves physically to become better, have more energy, stamina, flexibility, more vitality in our older years. But what about emotionally? Most people are quite happy to pay for the physical gym, even pay for personal trainers to put them through tough workouts in the physical gym, but then absolutely go to pieces when the emotional gym shows up for a workout. And again, we call those workouts challenges, problems, not surprises. Surprises that we want, we call presents, or nice experiences. Surprises we don't want, we call problems. But life is full of surprises. So knowing how to turn every surprise into something that can empower us or make us happy is a master skill. Now that brings us on to the third way that we can use our mind for longevity. And that is to understand the difference between chasing knowledge mastery to improve rather than self-mastery to improve. See, we've been sold for the vast majority of the 20th century and beyond that knowledge mastery equals success. But we live in a world now where people are drowning in knowledge and starving for wisdom, meaning that you have access to any knowledge that you want at a push of a button. In fact, you don't have to push the button. Siri, Google, or Alexa will tell you what you want to know. But when it comes to how that translates into using your mind for longevity, most people try to learn so much, they get confused. The more you can get confused, the more stress you have, or the more pressure you put on yourself with your mind, thinking you need to then remember everything you're learning. And if you don't do something that you've previously learned because you've forgotten, you start blaming yourself. And now we're using our mind to generate guilt and self-sabotage and low self-esteem. You can see that that horse isn't actually heading in the right direction. By contrast, people that understand that knowledge mastery, while it has its uses and it has various levels of application that are required, you need to know how to drive before they let you loose on the road with the rest of the crazies. But knowledge mastery, if it's not applied with a specific intent to a specific outcome, it's not going to serve you. What will serve you is self-mastery. Self-mastery is you being able to use your mind to empower you so that you can stand in the face of adversity, so that you can improve your ability to handle uncertainty, so that you can actually be a powerhouse, a reference, an eye of the storm when everybody's freaking out. Those people are valued in the marketplace way more than somebody who has an extra degree on the wall but goes to pieces when they hear something on the news they don't like, or somebody mentions something on social media that throws them for a loop. You get the idea. Being able to understand the difference between outer world control, which is a fool's game, unless you're a judge, a general, or an orchestra conductor, or inner world control, which is going to put you streets ahead of the competition and give you a much longer, more enjoyable, fulfilling life with less stress and more energy. When you realize that life is a growth-centric experience, not a comfort-centric experience, and you rise to that occasion rather than bitch about it, and when you start to realize that knowledge mastery has its limits, and it will never be able to give you the return on investment that your time, effort, and attention will give you if you invest it into self-mastery. You follow those 3 principles and it will lead to an amazing increased quality of life, a longer life, a less diseased and stressful life, a happier, more fulfilled life. What else do I have to say? Now, if you'd like to understand more about what it takes to really master the inner game so that you can be that example, an invitation to others of somebody who doesn't get thrown off the horse, or if you do, because we're all human, you don't hit the ground as hard and you're able to get back on and continue riding through life as a galloping stallion rather than as a scared little pony that most people operate as because they're scared of tripping over or falling off again. You really want that level of fulfillment and self-mastery? Click the link below and I'll share with you the 5 keys that I found over the 30 years that will allow you to really understand the intricacies as we go deeper, peeling back the onion to what's really required for you to be the best version of yourself. Go check it out. I'll see you inside.